Archaeologists have always utilized the latest technologies to aid in their research. One such revolutionary tool is Google Earth, which gives budding Indiana Jones types a bird's-eye view of the world. And because it's open source, it's helped armchair archaeologists solve mysteries of ancient history and created a few as well. One such mystery was this strange rock formation found in the sea, which had been ignored by scientists for ages. That is, until some archaeologists hopped onto Google Earth and managed to discover its true nature. Let's find out what that rock formation is now. Discovered off the coast of Wales, this rock formation was first spotted by a passing plane and then revealed by Google Earth in 2006. It sits in the Typhy estuary near Cardiff, and following its discovery, divers were sent down to examine the structure. They found out that the structure is 1 meter wide and protrudes about 30 centimeters out of the sand. Being an almost perfect V shape, it was thought to unlikely have been a naturally occurring reef. In fact, it's believed to be made out of locally quarried rock and possibly dates back more than 1,000 years. But researchers didn't just wade into the river to find the answer. Instead, they put their brains together and analyzed these photos from Google Earth. Do you think you know what it is yet? It didn't take them long, but the archaeologists managed to discover that it was in fact a fish trap. And not just any old fish trap, but at 260 meters long, the largest one found from that particular time period. Though it may not look like it, this fish trap was a sophisticated piece of ancient engineering. Fish would swim up the estuary with the tide, and on their way back out would find themselves funneled into the wedge, unable to leave with the outgoing tide. At its point is a gap, where fishermen would have placed nets to catch fish as the water drained away. They could also have blocked up the gap and then scooped up fish trapped in the shallows. Scientists believe large numbers of people hunted together using the trap, which allowed them to catch plentiful numbers of fish for their supper. In fact, they were so effective that use of them anywhere other than coastal regions was banned in the Magna Carta in 1215 to avoid complete depletion of fish stocks. But this isn't the only place where these traps have been found. Take a look at these off the coast of Trevignano in Italy. These more sophisticated arrowhead traps have been organized in groups to allow for maximum efficiency. But I've only just scratched the surface on some of the architectural mysteries unearthed by Google Earth. In fact, there have been artifacts all over the world, on the land and in the sea, that have been identified thanks to online archaeology sleuths. Artifacts like these mysterious rock structures. Visiting the deserts of the Middle East is difficult. Let's just say it isn't your typical holiday destination. For archaeologists, that means a lot of valuable research is being lost to the pages of history. But thanks to tools like Google Earth, archaeologists have been able to identify mysterious structures in places previously unreachable. In the deserts of Saudi Arabia and Jordan, researchers used to have to rely on looking at the photos World War I pilots took of them when they flew over. Further investigation with Google Earth has revealed many more of these strange rock formations, arranged in a number of different shapes. But were they used for some sort of ritual? Despite the huge number found, there was previously no conclusive evidence to suggest their purpose or who built them. That is, until the discovery of one example in Tel Quran in southeastern Syria. Here, archaeologists found the lower foot bones of over 100 gazelles, indicating a mass butchery. These formations, known as kites, turned out to be hunting grounds, much like the fish traps. Huge number of animals would be driven into a bottleneck to be slaughtered. One thing's for sure, the discovery of a majority of these kites and several other stone structures would have been impossible without Google Earth. Speaking about the projects, lead archaeologist David Kennedy of the University of Sydney said, "We would have loved to fly across into Saudi Arabia to take images, but you never get the permission, and then along comes Google Earth." What's so great about Google Earth is the fact it isn't just a tool for the doctorate-holding archaeologists among us. Remember what I said about armchair archaeologists? Well, they perhaps don't come more impressive than 15-year-old William Gadori. William's story of discovery comes straight out of an unused National Treasure script, just without Nicolas Cage. Take a look at this patch of jungle in the state of Campeche, southern Mexico. It may not look like much at first glance, but this was sitting right under the noses of archaeologists for years before it was spotted. Look closer and you'll see that the faint impression of a geometric shape is unlike anything else around it. It was a sight like this that convinced young William that it was anything but natural. To make his discovery, William had to combine stargazing with ancient Mayan texts, and of course, Google Earth. Realizing that the Mayans were just as obsessed with the constellations as he was, he worked out that their cities had been constructed in alignment with the brightest stars in the sky. By projecting a star map into a Google Earth image, he could estimate exactly where there might be something to be discovered. Amazingly, it worked. Even more amazingly, no one else had ever thought to do it. But what did he find? Well, it's supposedly a lost Mayan city known as Kayakchi, or the Fire City. one of the last of its kind to be discovered. It's one city of 3 that correspond in their location to the so-called 23rd constellation, of which the other 2 were already known. But despite this amazing find, there has been some doubt cast on it by other Mayanists who have dismissed it quite harshly as junk science and an act of creative imagination. But if you thought that was a fascinating story, then get a load of this. These images, analyzed by self-proclaimed space archaeologist Dr. Sarah Parkick, may not look like much, but her discovery, aided by satellite imagery, won her the 2016 TED Prize and $1 million of funding along with it. But what is this series of grid lines? It actually forms part of a bigger mystery lost long ago to legend, so famous that it was used in a great part of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Dr. Parkick used images provided by satellites to uncover more than 1,000 tombs and 3,000 settlements buried underneath modern-day Egypt, the ancient city of Tanis. To do this, she used infrared imagery to differentiate between densities of mud under the surface of the earth. She deduced the existence of ancient bricks and other construction materials, revealing a full city map, complete with street plans, which are those lines. Previously, Tanis had only been partially studied during 19th century excavations, but the full extent of the city was unknown, with only a survey conducted by Napoleon during his invasion forming the basis of our knowledge. Since discovering the settlements through satellite imagery, archaeologists excavated parts of the land and found 5 meters down, under a thick layer of mud, a dense layer of pottery proving the existence of 700 years of settlements at the area. However, not all mysterious discoveries from Google Earth have their origins rooted in ancient history. Take a look at these images, for example. Made almost entirely of straight lines ranging from a few miles across to the size of a small country, these strange underwater structures were sighted a few thousand meters under the surface of the ocean. They seemed too geometric to be naturally occurring, leading enthusiasts to theorize that it was something fantastical, the famed lost city of Atlantis. Ever since Plato first mentioned it in his work Timaeus and Critias, many have been convinced that the drowned city exists somewhere under the waves. So it was little surprise that these patterns, seen first off the coast of Mexico and later in the oceans around Africa, would capture their imaginations. But could it be the ruins described in ancient literature? And if so, what stopped archaeologists and explorers everywhere from strapping on their diving suits and sailing out into the great blue beyond? Well, it turns out the truth is unfortunately nowhere near as spectacular. Those lines turned out to be image artifacts created by boats collecting sonar mapping data. You see, oceanographers use sonar, sound waves, to map the ocean bottom. These sonar readings are typically taken by ships towing submersible devices that send out sound waves. The sound travels through the ocean, bounces off the seafloor, then travels back to the ships. This process creates a sound image of the peaks and valleys on the ocean bottom. However, when these readings are stitched together, some layers get piled together, creating remnants like these. Still, that's not the only mystery found in the sea thanks to Google Earth. Check out this image showing what looks like a huge, bizarrely shaped sea creature in the middle of the ocean. Lots of people have been quick to cite this image as evidence of the Kraken, since it does seem to have a strange tail, similar in appearance to a squid. Scarily, if that's true, this sea monster appears to be 120 meters from head to end, with the mid-area of a giant squid being about 60 plus meters wide. Yet there's a very good explanation for it. The massive object isn't a kraken though. It actually appears to be a rock in the middle of the sea called Sail Rock. Obviously, the perspective we have when looking at our planet from the top down can be deceiving sometimes.